My name is Gary Wong. I work at Northrop Grumman. I'm the user experience designer slash front-end developer. I design for the company company intranet, some advocacy websites, which sometimes we need to run, and sometimes we run ad campaigns on the web. That's what I do.
Very cool. Dan. And remember, just one little tiny plug, everything we say here is public information, and we keep it light, bright, and polite, just because I know that you guys have a lot of secret data that you could share. Let's keep it safe. Go ahead, Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan Siegler. I'm with Google, and I will try not to reveal our algorithm while I'm up here. I look after our advertising relationships with some of our larger partners in the automotive space.
And what is your title? It's pretty cool. His title is Head of Industry. It's pretty awesome.
Way to set a low bar.
Well, I'm Dylan Schwartz. I'm a creative director at Saatchi & Saatchi LA. So what I do at Saatchi & Saatchi, I work on a lot of things, but probably most relevant to this panel is I oversee Toyota.com. And over the last 2.5 years, we've completely redesigned Toyota.com from scratch. And obviously, almost every page on Toyota.com is a landing page at some point because it's being driven to from media.
Wow. My name is Grant Houston. I work with Hotlook, senior UX designer there since March, and basically every day work with the Hotlook iOS app for iPhone, iPad, and also the website and the mobile web. So, yeah, basically, I think this conversation is definitely relevant for that. So.
My name is Sean Johnson. I am Senior Director, Head of Design, UX, and UI for NBC Entertainment Digital.
Awesome. Okay, let's start over with Grant at the end. Grant, talk to us about what's working within landing page design. What are you seeing these days that's working?
Can I refer to my notes?
Yeah,
okay, cool. Those aren't my notes. I would say definitely a lot of these days, a lot of what does work is doing your research when it comes to users, who your users are, demographics, figuring out the various personas that exist. And you can do that on a light level. You can do that on a deep level. It really just depends on the project that you're working with, figuring out who are these people that we're trying to attract. And once we attract them, what are they interested in? You want to make sure that out of your personas, you can create these buckets or these funnels. Because a lot of times, in my opinion, homepages are either they don't have enough information to catch you and bring you in, or they have too much information and you're just like, go away. So I would say definitely user research. Another big thing is consistency. Back when Flash was popular, every website would have its own way of scrolling, its own way of navigation, and you'd have to relearn. Every website you went to, you'd have to figure out, oh, what do I do now? These days, you can't really do that. You want to really kind of follow what the trends are. Those trends seem to change, I'd say probably on a year-by-year basis. On mobile now we have the little hamburger icon that people through Facebook and all that stuff recognize that's a menu. So if I tap that, that's how I get my menus and your navigation. And also third is kind of trust your gut. There's this kind of visceral reaction that people will have or that you'll have when you're designing something. And you can ask yourself, you can be honest with yourself, does this feel right? If it doesn't, go at it again. Don't be afraid to throw stuff on the floor to start over. So I would say those are three things that tend to work.
That's helpful. Dylan, what's working?
I think what's working is thinking about the narrative. And I think what that means for landing page design is that, especially with Toyota, where we run so many different kinds of media, it's display ads or search ads or social posts, people are coming from all sorts of different destinations. And what's really important is that when they click on something and then they land on the landing page, that there's a connection and it's a continuous thought. So you're almost starting the thought on the banner and then you're continuing that when they land. And with so many different pieces of media out there, something that we've done is really tried hard to be dynamic and be smart about tailoring a landing page specifically to the piece of media and being able to do that dynamically. So you might have a landing page that is, if you come there, if you're just typing in the URL, it's always going to look one way. But if you come to it from clicking on a banner, that landing page is going to match the design. It's going to match the conversation that was started in the banner. So that's something we're having success with. That's working.
Very cool. Dan, what's working with landing page design for you guys?
Yes. So my experience with landing page design is indirect. I don't build actual web pages, but I'm very interested in the relationship between your traffic acquisition efforts and your landing page. So just reinforce what Dylan just said, just the importance of relevance for your landing page with especially paid search and paid media, because that's a place where you're investing money and you can completely control the message and the copy and the creative, and the landing page, the destination URL. So making sure that there's close alignment and that folks, when they get to your page, you're giving them what they're expecting. As far as actual landing page design tactics that I've seen folks have success with, I think I've seen a lot of success with this idea of building engagement mechanisms into the landing page, sort of mini real-time interactions. So if your business is contingent on getting folks to give you information to fill out a data set, rather than asking for all that information right away, ask for a little something and then immediately give them something back, give them some value, validate their investment. They've offered you some information. Why do you need that information? Let them know right away so that they're incented to then invest more, give you more information, and you have that two-way relationship. Something else I think is really important is landing page optimization by device. Even though right now, today, the majority of internet traffic comes from mobile devices, you'd probably be stunned by the number of really large brands that are, in effect, still sitting on the sidelines with mobile that haven't made the necessary investments in their mobile site experience. When in reality, mobile is just an incredible opportunity to create even deeper, more meaningful interactions with your audience and your users because of how much more you can learn about them. If you know what device they're coming from, in my area of focus in the automotive space, if someone's on a lot and they're waiting for a dealer, and they're pulling up get into a landing page while they're waiting for the dealer, what's the right experience there while they're researching on the lot versus if someone's sitting on their couch watching TV, they're exposed to some messaging on their TV, and now they're multi-screening with their tablet looking for some more information. So what's the right experience there on the landing page and optimizing between all the different devices?
Very cool. What's working in landing page design?
I'm different from all these guys here. Our industry is very specific. Our target audience is mostly the U.S. government, some allied countries, the educational sector for recruitment. So for me, user research is very important. Even though it's very specific, we still user research has worked really well for us. And as far as landing page design, like Dan said, an engagement element or social media element is very important. It makes people engage at the most top level, and having a concise page and using graphics or video is very important for us, at least on a landing page design. So that's what works for us.
Awesome. Sean, what's working with landing page design?
Oh, I kind of echo a lot of what I think has already been said. I mean, I think that we dive really deep into the metrics and the data. We really try to understand our different consumers, whether they're coming to NBC.com front page. It's a different sort of experience and a different type of user that's coming in there who different than somebody who's coming to the voice specifically. So being very targeted, and I think one of the things that's working that I'm seeing in the industry overall, the level of importance of user experience, how that engages with social, how that engages with the data and the metrics, is not just about visual design anymore. It's actually about the user story, the user journey, and how we connect with people across multiple devices. So I kind of have a different perspective because we answer to many different sort of consumers on very niche sort of areas across multiple shows, multiple products and platforms. And I would say what's working the most is that we're moving towards this sort of program once responsive design framework that supports mobile, that supports social, that supports devices, so we can actually engage users at a point in time and be relevant, right? Be relevant to them based on the type of thing that they're looking for, understanding what they're coming for. Most of our views overall, and most people that come to NBC across any of our platforms, being a broadcast network, is obviously for video, so that's a huge driver for us, and it supports the sales metrics, it supports everything else. So it's kind of, we're in a shifting spot, a reinvention sort of area in my role on sort of, there's brand new territory across all the broadcast networks, how they're engaging against the Hulus and the Netflixes and things like that are starting to take some of this market share away. But for digital specifically, unlike broadcast, you know, we're on 24/7. So it's a very different and a unique experience for a Jimmy Fallon than it is a Voice, than it is a Revolution or a Grimm or a Blacklist. And so, you know, it's challenging at times, but we look at, you know, we utilize our marketing strategies. We obviously utilize our vast marketing sort of network and teams, but we really drive into the data, and we try to look at not so much of landing pages, but really displays, devices, and experiences across those. So by breaking the content in many ways out of a landing page, we're able to, you know, deliver intelligent content, intelligent relationships of content to what people are looking for. So it's an interesting territory in my field now, because so many of the networks are really trying to make that leap as to what that actually means when people are consuming, you know, outside. They might be watching a clip, doing a second screen sort of companion experience, you know, or driving tune into the network that night. So it's evolving quickly, and it's ultimately very challenging on how we look at that. But at the end of the day, I think it's effective. It's understanding who that consumer is for that moment, and being able to deliver them targeted sort of information and experiences that get them to engage and keep them engaged in that experience.
Grant, talk to us about what's not working.
Let's see. Well, there's quite a few things that aren't working. Well, I'm going to relate it back to a book from a couple of years ago. It's called Don't Make Me Think. Anytime you have to make your users think, even for a few seconds, I always use the metaphor of when you're standing in line at the self-checkout and you're waiting for that one person who's really slow, like, what is going on? Why are they taking so long? How I look at it is, it's not them. It's typically, when I get up there, it's like, oh, well, you know, all the things are visually weighted the same way. You know, there's no sense of flow. There's no sense of, like, here's what I do next. You almost have to kind of guide the user along. So making them think is the last thing that you want them to have to do, because more than likely they'll get frustrated, they'll leave, or, you know, they'll just cause frustration with other people. The other thing, crap, there was one more thing that was on the tip of my tongue.
I like that book, Don't Make Me Think. That's a good key idea. Is that a graphical UI book?
Yeah, it's one of the first books as a UX person that you should read. You know, there's a couple. Don Norman actually later on tonight is going to be at Cross Campus. I think it's the Something of Everyday Things. Can't remember the first part of it, but yeah, it's basically looking at design from a very simple perspective, and just, you know, if you step in on the heads of your users or your customers or your members, you really don't want them to have to search for what they're trying to find. You know, when it comes to products, you don't want them to have to search for details about the product that might be key to whether or not they make that decision. Yeah, so.
Very cool. Dylan, walk us through what's not working right now with landing page design.
Well, I think one thing that's not working are homepages. The idea of a homepage, I think, has some sort of stagnant, and I think most people, and I'll obviously focus on Toyota and what we know about our shoppers, but very rarely does someone get any use out of just coming to the Toyota.com homepage. And I think, you know, homepages are sort of, they become a manifestation of the politics, the internal politics at an organization, and everyone's fighting for their little piece of real estate, and so you end up with nothing really useful for the user. And I don't think we've solved it. I don't know if I've seen anyone else solve it. Maybe Google has the best homepage ever, which is just a big search bar.
That's true.
Yeah. So I think
Don't give away industry secrets. That's their secret. Shh.
Turn the video off, please.
Yeah, homepages are not working.
That's a good answer.
So again, what doesn't work is trying to collapse the natural research and purchase process for a consumer. If you're targeting folks at the top of the funnel who clearly are just starting their research, and you know by the types of general queries they're putting into a search engine, they don't have brands in the consideration set, and you're taking that traffic and bringing them to a landing page where you're trying to get them to buy something immediately, that won't work. That doesn't work. I don't think that very minor A/B tests have as much of an impact as they used to. That's specific if you're using like a Google Conversion Optimizer, one of these really robust real-time optimization tools. They're so powerful and so comprehensive. They optimize the traffic that they send to your site for conversions based on the experience that it has. If you make a very, very minor tweak to a page, it will just switch the traffic and compensate for that, and you probably won't see much of an impact in conversion rates. If you're not using one of those tools, then it might have more benefit to do that kind of testing. And I don't at all mean to suggest that you shouldn't split test. Definitely split test different landing pages, but broader, more sweeping changes as opposed to super minor ones.
Very cool. Gary, talk to us about what's not working.
I'm going to talk more about process. So what's not working is, like Flavia said, Hippo. Top-down management, top-down decision-making is not working. And approvals is not working. We're moving towards an agile process. Actually, we're there now, and we're looking into designing and developing in a more lean environment. So instead of talking on the phone across the country, we're trying to bring the teams together in the same room to develop a better product. So so the process right now for I think a lot of these guys is not working.
Very wise. Sean, walk us through what's not working.
Oh, I'm in the same camp that home pages and landing pages in general aren't really effective anymore. But what I do think is going back to the previous conversation, that what's not working is essentially trying to create something that you think, with or without testing or data, that you think that you want to kind of drive to a user, instead of actually tuning those experiences up that are going to be relational, that are going to be contextual. Again, social networks, people are more likely to look at something that one of their friends recommends rather than a big organization saying you have to see this. So, one of the interesting things that we're looking at doing is, when we surface video, back to video, it's essentially what's the most relevant, what's the most viewed, assuming that entry point is going to be something that somebody else heard about, and that will connect them with another experience and another experience. So I would say what's not working is traditional methods on how we're building sites and pages, and whether or not even websites are relevant anymore. I think somebody had mentioned, the mobile sort of increase is just dramatic with us right now. And we're just watching way more users come in from, obviously, devices, tablets and smartphones, and the increase there is just exponential, which is just not going to slow down. And I think engaging people in those smaller screen relationships now, and how that evolves to a larger experience. They may visit your website, but if you can give them something relevant that's very direct, that's related to what they're looking for and contextual, they're more likely to engage with your brand, and they're more likely to take away a better experience and relationship with your brand to grow that. So that's my approach on it.
Engaging in smaller screen relationships. That's cool. So Grant, walk us through. This is the next fun thing, because we talked about a little bit about Optimizely and fine tuning things and landing pages. Front pages are not working right now. Process isn't working. Approval is not working. This is my favorite part and my favorite question. What tools tactically are we using these days to say, hey, this is kind of a cool tool. I mean, the industry knows about this one, but here's a cool thing that we're using to optimize this landing page design. Grant, why don't you start?
That's kind of a twist on how I was going to answer that. In my everyday practice, can I answer that?
Of course.
Okay. There's two sets of tools, a lo-fi set and a high fidelity set of tools that I use. I can't overemphasize the value that comes out of sketching, just taking a pencil out or a pen out and just sketching your ideas down on paper, or going up to a whiteboard or blackboard, and just with a colleague just ideating. Because the thing is, you can get so much thought process on a surface, and you can collaborate on it. You can throw it away. You can push it further, and it's just so tactile that there's just something about that can't be replaced by digital. Also, paper prototyping is another thing where you just if you're trying to improve a design or even create a new one, look at what competitors out there that you like, and print out their stuff, cut it up, put things together, be like, oh, we kind of want to do this and this, and you just kind of put stuff together. Or there's been times when for a Windows Phone 7.5 demo a couple of years ago, company wanted to change how it worked, some of the flows. And the best way to do that was look at the previous one and just print it out, cut it up, tape it together, and figure out, oh, we're going to go from here to here. You know, it was a really lo-fi way to do it, but it worked really effectively. From a higher fidelity standpoint, I think moving from just wireframing to prototyping has been more the technique that's been used lately.
Yeah.
Like I use Axure, AXURE, a lot, and because it used to be 6-7 years ago, you could print out wireframes, you know, take them to a client, and you know, present them, walk through them, tell the story. Nowadays, there's nothing quite like being able to click through something, and that also helps to really iron out the kinks in whatever process. You might be like, on paper this worked great, but here it's really not working. So those are some of the things I use.
That's good. That's very, very helpful. Walk us through, what tools are you using right now?
Sure. I was actually going to mention Axure too. It's a great tool, and our UX team has actually started doing that. Instead of doing everything in Photoshop and spending hours and hours designing everything pixel perfect, and then trying to convey what essentially is a really complex interaction, you know, we build it quickly in Axure, and we try to give a sense of what it's actually going to look and feel like. And we've been working actually a lot with Google lately for the past few months on a project. And something we've learned from working with Google is prototyping is even too much sometimes. And they have a great word, which is pretotyping. So it's even before prototyping, you do a pretotype. And the idea is that some technologies have gotten so complicated, the idea that you can wrap your head around it with just a flat comp or a wireframe or even a write-up is just impossible. You really need to be able to play with it. Something we're going to be launching in the next few weeks, which is a multi-user car configurator that runs on top of Google Hangouts. There's a lot of deep technology that goes into that, and in order for us to sort of pitch that idea and get Toyota behind that idea, we actually had to build a prototype. So the first time we shared it with our Toyota clients, it was functioning and it was working. You know, the final version looks nothing like it. It's evolved a lot, but just to be able to explain what that concept is and the true value of it, you really need to actually play with it and build it and see what it looks like.
And that's pretotyping.
Pretotyping.
That's cool. Dan, what tools are you using?
Well, so I would say start with your analytics package. A couple of people mentioned Google Analytics over the course of the day. The base package is free, but there's lots of great analytics tools out there. And look at your bounce rate, because that's going to be your clue, right? If you have a really high bounce rate on your landing page, then that tells you that you've suggested a certain experience, certain information with your ad copy and maybe even your destination URL. And then when someone gets to the page, they're immediately deciding this is not what I was expecting, and they're backing out and they're looking for something else. So again, you know, don't let your landing page break the promise that your ad copy made. Aside from that, I think we offer free API, Google A/B Content Experiments API. You can integrate that into your own systems, and that will provide statistical shortcuts for your split tests. So it'll help you more quickly declare a winner and get that page rolled out to 100% of your traffic. Lastly, there are lots of tools that will show you what your page looks like in all possible rendering instances. So again, across all different devices, does your page look the way you expect it to? And then even all different browsers, right? Because if you do have an issue with your page, you should probably first investigate if it's technical as opposed to design.
That's very helpful. Gary, what tools are you using?
Well, Grant pretty much answered what I was going to answer. There's nothing better than just having a whiteboard and getting all the relevant people together, the content owners, the site owner, the developer, everybody together, and just sit them down and pass them just blank paper, and everybody just go at it to kind of see what their vision is, and then get everybody's idea together and start from there. That's the best tool I would recommend. And in terms of prototyping, everybody's using Extrude. I use Extrude as well. Used to use Balsamiq. We no longer use that. Extrude is definitely the better. As far as testing, we use this Mac program called I forgot what it's called, but I'll email it to you. But we do a lot of recording of user testing, so you kind of get their reactions, their facial reaction. So there's a video recording. So you know that's testing, and like Dan said, a lot of A/B testing is good.
Awesome. Very cool. Sean, what tools are you using?
I'm kind of in the same camp. I mean, I think that the starting point of everything starts with a paper and a pencil, and really trying to figure out and ideate and put things up on the wall and kind of feel out what it actually looks like, and that stems from an understanding of the process. So how we're evolving our process at NBC is that we kind of follow more of a scenario-focused engineering approach, which is, we get the core stakeholders into the same room. We start sort of through what the business requirements are. Those help to evolve what our product requirements are and what our vision are. We kind of rank those out, and we literally just start doing whiteboard sessions. And we go and we'll fill up a wall, and we'll make notes, and we'll put stickies up everywhere, and that will help to sort of frame out where we're actually headed. And that alone can get us executive sign-off, right? And then from there, I'm in the same camp. We've used a bunch of different tools, and I'm still investigating new ones. We've played with Axure. For our organization, it may not be fast enough, actually, which is frightening. And we're moving away from that sort of area. So we use a lot of cloud-based tools. We use a lot of app-based tools. There's one called Proto.io, which is interesting, that takes your Photoshop files and just gives you basic interactions and puts it on mobile devices. There's one out called Envision as well, which is interesting. We use UXPen from a sketchboard standpoint, and it's a really low barrier cost. It's a cloud-based system. It was designed by UX designers and UI designers, so it actually kind of looks and sketches the way that you would want it to look. So it already is pre-baked with iOS 7 interface, Windows 8 interface. I think they even have Google Glass in there. And they have a lot of different pieces. And once you kind of go through a couple of tutorials, honestly, anybody could kind of put it together. It does basic interactions, so it's really quite fluid. And we use it to actually annotate and just sort of collaborate once we get past the paper stage. And then once we go from there, I would actually go more towards the people stance. So the idea of actually doing rapid prototyping is becoming more and more of the norm for us, because I think the same thing has been echoed so far. From a user experience and a user interface standpoint, everything's going more into motion now. So we still do Photoshop sort of flat files for the execs for presentations, but when we really want to show people how things are going to work, they have to be coded out now. So I have the fortunate ability to actually have developers on site, so we actually just rapidly prototype in small teams, and that's kind of where we're headed. And that allows us to build something very quickly, rapidly, show what that looks like, surface that up through the chain of command, which is sometimes challenging.
Iterate.
And iterate.
So is that Envision or is that the other one?
Well, we use UXPen to kind of rough sketch things out. So we can do baseline interactions with that, and you can actually publish it to HTML. You can send it out for others to view, and you can provide a username and password sort of login scenario for people. So because the scope of our organization, one of our biggest challenges is actually sharing those ideas and getting comments back very quickly. So we need, a lot of times we need responses within 24 hours. And, fortunately and unfortunately, we have people who are basically on 24 hours and responding. So
That's a little tool called Payroll. Yeah. It's really high tech.
it is.
All right.
It's called salary.
Yeah. It's
versus
awesome.
hourly.
It's perfect for startups. All right. Let's move into the last one, and then we're going to do some Q&A, and then we're going to all go to cocktails. Okay. Talk to us about a case study. Who's doing this well? Have you seen anything out there like, yeah, this sucked at first, and then this company changed their landing page and some cool stuff happened? You can share your case study or any firm that you like out there that we can learn from. Grant, let's start with you.
The one that comes to light is this was a few years ago when I was with Sapient, and the company is called Public Storage. I'm sure you've all heard of it. Storage is not very exciting, but for some, everybody has to use it at some point in their life. And Public Storage had a very interesting problem in that people were coming to their homepage, they would plug in their zip code, and people would drop off. And it's like, well, what's going on? So again, it's an organization that they do a lot of their own internal development. They do a lot of A/B testing, like, ad infinitum, like just crazy, almost so much so. But we were looking at, okay, the search results page is where people were dropping off, and basically, over the space of a few months, we figured out that people were the first design of their site was very much you see results and they're in chunks, and mentally it was very hard to parse or like kind of compare one unit here to another unit down here, and it's because each unit was represented by a box. You had information that was laid out all in the same place in each box, but each time you looked at a new listing, you had to compare it to the other one, and so just simply changing it to more of a column-based format that allowed you to compare apples to apples. From row to row, you can compare, oh, this is this size at this amount and this location, as opposed to having to reset your kind of, if you look at how somebody's eyes track across a web page, they were more able to easily view it and compare units as opposed to before. So that was the long version. So.
Kind of configuring the data a little differently.
Yeah,
Tabling it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Walk us through a case study that's worked.
Sure. So obviously a big staple of car shopping is the car configurator. And I think a lot of people coming to our website are there to configure cars, the way to get a good sense of what you want, what you like, how much it's actually going to cost above the MSRP. And people will do that while they're shopping at all points in the shopping process, really early on, or sometimes they'll do it really close to purchase. But what the insights you can get from that are actually really interesting. So one thing that we're doing is, if I come to the site and I go to, say, a Corolla page, and I start configuring the car, and say I choose red, and that's the color I like, and I kept it red all the way through the process, we'll keep that. And so in retargeting, we'll show you a banner. We know you like red, so we'll show you a red car. So you're more likely to actually engage with that because we know that's the car you like. And then continue that elsewhere in the site. There's other places on the site beyond the configurator where you can choose colors. So again, making red the more prominent color and trying as best we can to find things we know you're into, that we know you're interested in, and then display that to you everywhere we find you.
That's a cool example. Dan, any good case studies?
Well, I think there are a lot of websites that do a good job with landing pages. If you start, just think about industries where, again, the business is dependent on getting people to engage deeply with your website, whether that's submitting information or completing a purchase. Starting with my area of focus in the auto space, you're talking about successful companies that have teams of really smart people that wake up early in the morning and think all day long about how to make their website as compelling and easy to use as possible. So again, in the automotive research and lead gen space, all the leading companies, they do a great job. Auto Bytel, Kelley Blue Book, there was a speaker from there this morning here. Cars.com, Edmunds. If you go to their homepages, you'll see they ask for very little information right away before they start giving you something back. And if you go to search engines and do some queries around like research-oriented terms, make and model reviews and comparative searches, and click on the results, you'll see that the landing pages are extremely relevant to what you were searching for. Other industries where you see that as well, travel is another good one. And here I'll call out Kayak. I love Kayak. Relatively simple in what they ask you for up front, but what's really great is at the bottom, they have these little check boxes, and you can, with one click, do comparative searches with most of their competitors. And so I'll always start my travel searches on Kayak because I feel like it's one-stop shopping, and they're showing me all of the information I have to navigate around. Just looking through my consumer lens, there's other websites I like. I think Tumblr, their homepage is really simple and clean, ask you for just a few simple bits of information right in the center. SmugMug's another great one. It's a photography site. The homepage is just one full-page beautiful photograph, that's what it's about, so it's showing you what it's for. It also invokes emotional response, asks for very little information before you can get in there and get started. Redfin in the real estate world is an incredible website, asks for very little, doesn't ask you to create an account right away, gives you value back, and if you're in market for a house and you find that website and you start using it, you will create an account because it gives a lot back right away.
That's helpful. Gary, walk us through some case studies that are working.
Google.com, of course, no, but in our industry, I think what I admire the most is BarackObama.com and WhiteHouse.org. Not because how they look and what kind of look and feel they have right now, but the process they had to go through to overcome a lot of the obstacles that are imposed upon them by the government or by the you know, whether it be compliance or you have to abide by, you have to use this vendor or something. So, you know, they ultimately were able to use Drupal as their CMS. And, you know, that's a big step, using open source PHP, HIPAA or compliance or bureaucracy, that kind of stuff. So that's, you know, that's you know, in my thoughts and in my you know, what I dream of. So
Awesome. Sean, walk us through a case study.
You know, I'm gonna not to self-promote, but I've been at NBC now for a little over 18 months, and you know, when I first came in, our homepage was just abysmal. The experiences were disjointed at best. The abandonment rate was above 75%. You know, just coming out of the homepage and any other page. Our Google page rankings on most of our sites were around 3s. We're now officially up to around 8s and 9s on most of our sites, which is a testament, of course, of SEO and optimization on these pages. But I think one of the biggest things that I'm proud of right now is that we were able to, we have an app, and we have this, when I came in, there was this NBC app, and it was completely disjointed. It tried to do everything for everybody. It had show information, it had about information, it had games, it had photos, it had video. And, you know, we went through a series of studies, of course, on this, and we looked at it, and we looked at the data, and most everybody, obviously, with that type of platform is consuming video. So we were fortunate enough to be able to work with Apple for and coincide with their iOS 7 release. So the new app is just incredibly streamlined. It's within the iOS sort of framework. We got to work directly with them on that. The interactions are simple, and it's literally you just go in and you can consume full episodes in video. And it's basically going to be influencing, you know, a lot of the things I've been talking about on our mobile first strategy and how we're even looking at the landing page designs for our consumers as to what they're looking for. So I could see our future, and I think many other network futures, driving more towards video consumption, live linear plays, things like that, and really sort of joining those, marrying those devices with the consumer experience that's ultimately coming to view moments, you know, moments in time, whether that's a full episode or a clip. And so I'm quite proud of that, and go pick it up in the App Store.
That's
also
awesome.
on Android.
Google PageRank change is impressive that you
Yeah,
had there.
it was. I think that was one
It's
of
not easy.
the most interesting things, and it was watching that through cleaning up the pages and cleaning up the experiences and really driving relevant content, and obviously working with our teams on metadata and how we sort of drive that information. Watching those boosts really tick up was incredible to see that over a 3-month period.
We have time for 2 questions real quick for Andy, and then we have time for one more question at in the end. Yes, Flavia. Yes, Andy, go first.
Okay, so in the sales process, we're used to telling a story. Okay, so
Yeah.
telling a story. So coming from the direct marketing side for years now, we've been doing long copy, and you know, with time we've been adding video, and you know, things have changed. So I'd like to hear from you guys. Where's the trend here? Is it now short copy with mostly a video, with some app and some sexy stuff? I mean, what's happening with that?
I can only speak from my area, which my content team hates me, but our people don't read. They just don't. They want an image and they want a message, and I think that our demographic, you know, with most networks is 18 to 49. That's what all the ad sales is done against. So anybody at 50 or anybody lower than 18, they actually can't sell against. So that being said, like, we don't make money unless that demo's there. And that's across all devices, and Nielsen's jumped in now and they're doing online. But, you know, I'm just watching from my view, my perspective. I mean, the trend with now what's being called Generation Z, which are my kids and a lot of other kids that are below 15. I mean, they're hardwired for this. They don't read, they're visual. Their life's unfolding on Facebook, you know, from birth, basically. And they may never really understand what that is, but they're short moments, and the Tumblrs and everything else. I mean, this is where this world lives, and it's the next sort of evolution. But I think strong strategic copy that evolves a story, I think people along that journey will ultimately get to that point.
So you tell the story basically now with video.
in pieces, and potentially across different devices. It may be a different story for your phone than it is for the site.
That's a good point, telling it in pieces, giving them a choice to go to where they want to go to. And for those of you that are watching the video, I apologize. I'm supposed to be good at this and repeat the question because you can't hear it. The question was, do you do long-form copy with long landing pages, or has that changed? We have time for one. Let's add one more person to that. Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
I just wanted to dovetail on that. Related to, I forget which of you said earlier about evoking emotion. If you can evoke emotion through image and video, that's so much more powerful than forcing somebody to recopy, and so much more. It's quicker. So I just wanted to add that point.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my mantras when it comes to UX. It's really let the user relate to what you're trying to do. So.
One thing I was going to say: strong visuals and simple, engaging interactions. Too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good point. All right, one more question. Flavia, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to ask you guys, like after you design the new landing page, what do you guys do to measure it, like to prove this is a success or to disprove like some of the assumptions that made before?
Yeah, let me say it for video. So after you guys designed a new landing page, what do you use, or what type of measurement do you use to decide whether it's a success or a failure?
Well, we do a lot of A, B, C, D, E testing. I guess. We try to, create as many iterations as we think make sense, and try to test those, and be constantly looking at the results and trying to optimize.
I believe we're using Omniture tracking on all of our stuff, and so we dive in. I mean, we know within, days, hours, how something's tracking. It's been an evolving process. For us internally at NBC Digital to get deeper data, deeper information, and how that content sort of flows across devices and how people are consuming it. But it's pretty instantaneous. I think our goal, my goal, in my role at NBC is to basically simplify, and I think that's been echoed a lot, really simplify and hone in on what that experience is. But we're more content driven. So, I can put up a clip of Fallon or the voice battle rounds, and we know it's going to spike. So for us, making that one of the most prominent sort of things on the page that's easily accessible for people is kind of critical, and it's been effective. It's been really effective for us. And a lot of we'll even play with the words. We'll play with the IA on things. So when I first started, we had a global drop down that said videos instead of full episodes. That one piece drove obviously video views up 30-40% overnight, and just changing. And I think that goes back to the simplicity of the words and being very clear on what it is. We want people to go view full episodes. We call it full episodes. They'll get the relational videos out of it, but if you want to drive full episode views, call it full episodes. Guess what? Drop down, they go. They're watching full episodes. So it's that kind of keep it simple, stupid sort of thing for people. And I have a rule that's kind of like, if it works for a 5-year-old, it's probably going to work for most people. So
It works for iPads. Yeah, Grant.
I was going to add to that one thing that we, because I work within the product management group at Outlook, and one thing that we're trying to get more of is more specificity around the metrics that we're tracking. Now, granted, we're behind a reg wall, so once people register for our site, the greater level of fidelity that you can specify for interactions, the more value you can possibly get out of, are they not doing this because of this or that, versus, well, we think it's on this page, or whatnot. So I think greater specificity around the metrics that you're actually tracking, even down to interaction level stuff.
Anything else, guys?
For me, the only tracking that we do is when are the IE7 users going to disappear? So that's all we track.
IE6. No, it's
IE7. Yeah.
Wow. For those of you that are on the video, that's Internet Explorer. I caught one of our sponsors using Internet Explorer today on their laptop, and I won't call him out, but
focus on 9
yeah,
or 10.
I won't call him out, Warner from Business Wire. I love you, brother, but no more IEs. Sorry, my Microsoft friends. All right, this is amazing. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Let's give a round of applause for our panelists up here.